The machine is struggling. The machine is crumbling. I have good news for you guys. The narrative is collapsing. The international organizations and elites that are trying to subvert your rights are failing. And what was once considered grand conspiracy is now just considered mainstream fact. This is fascinating. From Real Clear Politics, Biden economic advisor on high gas prices, quote, "This is about the future of the liberal world order." He just came out and said it. You're not supposed to say that on CNN, dude. What are you doing? You know what it is? You get these hardworking guys, right? Hardworking guys back 100 years ago. And they set up the liberal world order. Okay, this is more, I think this is like 70, 80 years ago. And they know how to make their new world order, which they call the liberal world order. They also know you can't tell the public about it because they'll feel like you're subverting their national and sovereign rights. So they keep it a secret. And anybody who comes out and talks about it, well, you're a conspiracy theorist, you crazy person. There's no liberal world order. But eventually, they must pass down the crown to their children. And so these men who built a liberal world order tell the next generation, we bestow upon you the duty of maintaining our liberal world order. And then these younger generation just come out and say it. And what was once a conspiracy theory is now just a fact. I mean, let's talk about Epstein, yo. They're spiraling. These are people, these are powerful elites who are trying to organize on the world stage. You've got the Davos group, you've got this, and it's being exposed every single day. And I wonder why it is. I think it has a lot to do with the internet. I think with the internet, you get regular people, you get people like me talking about it, sharing these ideas and exposing this. You get people like Luke Rudkowski of We Are Change. I mean, Luke's been chasing after a lot of these stories for 15 or almost 20 years. Almost 20 years this guy's been doing that work. And he was called a conspiracy theorist because the establishment narrative in the mainstream press was that if you dare talk about things like the liberal world order, you are a conspiracy theorist. I remember when Alex Jones was talking about Epstein and what Epstein was doing. Ghislaine Maxwell was just sentenced to 20 years in prison. We now know it is established fact. These people are doing these things. Here's a funny thing. There was a poll, and it asked people if they thought there was a cabal of child abusers running the government. And among Republicans, they overwhelmingly say yes. I was watching the show The Boys. Have you guys watched The Boys? I like that show, although it's a little too on the nose. In the show, I guess it's a spoiler alert, so it's a side point. They're basically making a lot of allusions to modern politics. And there's a scene where they're like accusing a character of trafficking kids. And it's very much supposed to be like Hillary or whatever. And it's like, are you trying to act like Maxwell wasn't doing this? There are people who believe that powerful elements of the government are trafficking kids because Epstein got caught. He got put in jail and then shuffled off his mortal coil. And then, of course, Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted for assisting in this. And we know that Epstein was flying world leaders and powerful interests on his plane to his island. This stuff's not conspiracy theory anymore. They prosecuted these people for these things. But they still try to make it seem like that. All right. What's going on here? Real Clear Politics says Brian Deese, President Biden's director of National Economic Council, defended the administration's energy policies on Thursday in an interview with CNN. Victor Blackwell said, the military analysts, the director of national intelligence, say this can be a long war measured in years. I think everybody understands why this is happening, but is it sustainable? What do you say to those families who say, listen, we can't afford to pay $4.85 a gallon for months, if not years? That is not sustainable. Victor, just say $5. $4.85. Say $5. Because you know that $5 smacks people in the face harder. That's probably why they toned it down, even 15 cents. Brian Deese, Biden advisor, responded. What we heard from the president today was about the stakes. This is about the future of the liberal world order. And we have to stand firm. But at the same time, what I'd say to that family, to Americans across the country, is you have a present administration that is going to do everything in its power to blunt those price increases. and bring those prices down. No. I was told by Democrats that the president doesn't control gas prices, so there's nothing he can do about it anyway, right? Oh, wait. He simultaneously cannot control gas prices while having the ability to lower them. If that's the case, lower them more, dude. Why are they high? Good news over the past 2 weeks. We've seen the price of the pump come down 20 cents, but it is still unacceptably high. That's why the president earlier this week was working to bring the G7 allies together around exploring something around a price cap to cap the price that can be paid for Russian oil, which will actually target the pain more directly on Vladimir Putin and not the rest of the world. The liberal world order. This is about protecting the liberal world order. I thought that was a conspiracy theory, dude. Man, it was crazy. I remember when the Gulf of Tonkin incident was exposed as like actually a conspiracy theory. As it goes, in Vietnam, the U.S. needed to enter the war, or wanted to stop the Soviet expansion. So they staged an attack on a U.S., I believe it was a destroyer. It was called the Gulf of Tonkin incident. They said, help, we're under attack. We must invade. And it turns out that it is mostly believed to be a conspiracy theory, or to be a conspiracy that they staged it so that we would have public support for entering a war. A false flag, as it were. You may be saying, wait a minute, there's a liberal world order? Yeah, the Council on Foreign Relations talks about it. Take a look at this. What is the liberal world order? This from the Council on Foreign Relations. NewsGuard certified 100 out of 100. Explore the organizations and agreements that have promoted global peace and prosperity for 75 years, as well as the challenges that now threaten to undermine those gains. Oh no. What's this? After World War II, the deadliest conflict in human history, countries sought to ensure the world never again devolved into such horrific violence. World leaders created a series of international organizations and agreements to promote global cooperation on issues including security, trade, health, and monetary policy. The United States has championed this system, known as the liberal world order, for the past 75 years. During this time, the world has enjoyed unprecedented peace and prosperity. I'm going to go ahead and dispute that claim, dude, because Obama blew up kids. That was the greatest thing about Obama's presidency. He was like, if you vote for me, I'm going to go and blow up kids. And everybody was like, yeah, and they all screamed. No, I mean, he didn't really say that, but he may as well have said that in 2012. And that's why I didn't vote for him the second time. And I just laughed and I said, it's all one big joke, isn't it? Barack Obama campaigned in 2008 on universal health care, never got that. He campaigned on getting our troops out of the Middle East. And then in 2012, after years of blown up kids, he's like, vote for me again. And then everyone's like, yay. And then they voted for him again. And then I'm just like, you want to call that unprecedented peace and prosperity? Yo, they were blowing up young men in the Middle East. And when people were like, hey, Mr. President, you're killing civilians, he went, actually, these people, they are military age males and therefore enemy combatants. They need to be blown up. They're, got to blow up the kids. There's too many of them. Got to get rid of them. That was Seamus's joke. He's like, got to get rid of them. Too many kids. Yeah, dude, Obama killed so many people. Like, the dude was just smashing the button and blowing people up. Peace and prosperity. Amazing. They say, but these institutions are far from perfect. Okay, fair point. And today they are struggling to address new sources of disorder, such as climate change and a deadly pandemic. What's more, democracy is on the decline around the world. Authoritarianism is on the rise, and countries like China are deliberately chipping away at the liberal world order, creating parallel institutions of their own. Faced with these challenges, will the liberal world order survive? If a new system emerges, what will that mean for freedom, peace, and prosperity worldwide? If you're calling this freedom, peace, and prosperity, I don't know what to tell you, man. I guess, blown up kids relative to World War II is technically more peaceful, but still rather nightmarish. But I'm no fool. I understand. If the U.S. doesn't fill the vacuum, China does. And it's not like we think they're going to do a good job. So welcome, my friends, to the rock and the hard place. Should the U.S. rescind its international influence and then allow China to fill the gap and then start blowing up kids on their own? Or does the U.S. try to assert a unipolar world with the U.S. at the top? I don't have the answers, man. But I will tell you this. The United States government, the liberal world order, have never justified to the public why it is what they do. And if they don't want to give those answers, then so be it. You do not deserve the benefit of the doubt from me. You can come out and tell me all the things in the world about how evil China is, and I've seen some bad stuff. But you've not explained to me what your goals are. And so I don't trust you. Why? Because I look at these people, they are liars, they are deceivers, they are manipulators. Now, if we had an administration that was honest with the American people, talked about the crisis that we faced internationally, and legitimately sought to engage in international conflict through Congress, through approval of the American public, okay. But they don't do that. They don't. They spit in your face, they lie to you, and they tell you blindly support them as they blow up kids. Abdurrahman al-Awlaki, 16-year-old American citizen killed without charge or trial. Why isn't Obama being put on trial for this? They say, well, we were targeting a terror leader and it was an accident that he died. Okay, if you're a cop and you're trying to stop a bad guy and then you shoot and kill an innocent bystander, you still get in trouble. I'm not saying you go to prison, but you'll still get some accountability, right? Shouldn't Barack Obama, it's not even that. I mean, he blew up a civilian restaurant, killing an American child. Yeah, if you're a soldier and you shoot and kill a civilian thinking you're attacking an enemy combatant, you will be brought up on charges. These things happen. Not always, I guess. They say, in this module, we will outline the authority and limitations of the UN Security Council, blah, 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 blah. Liberal world order. Okay. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. You ready for this? Quarter of Americans say they are ready to take up arms against the government. Poll also finds more than a third of those currently own guns. This is a fake news headline. Daily Mail is far from perfect. Though they are NewsGuard certified, I have no problem calling them out when their headline is incorrect. But it's somewhat correct. They say 25% of voters across the party lines agree that it may be necessary, they spell necessary wrong, at some point soon for citizens to take up arms against the government. That doesn't mean they're ready. That doesn't mean they want to. Among the strong GOP, the majority of strong GOP believe it is necessary to take up arms against the government. Yikes. Among strong Democrat, 21% agree, 74% disagree. This is obvious, though. The strong Democrats, they're the ones in power. Soft Democrats agree slightly less. That's amazing. Independents, 1/3 of independent voters think it may be necessary to take up arms against the government. That's crazy. But what is this question really asking? We know Republicans say this. They've been saying this for decades. As long as I've been alive, they're like, we have the Second Amendment to protect ourselves from the government, and it may be necessary at some point. Okay. I don't necessarily think so, to be honest, because I think confidence will be rocked in the federal government. And then I don't think you're taking up arms against the government so much as people just start fighting each other. So the poll comes as the U.S. House Select Committee's investigation into Trump's role in the violent January 6th insurrection against the Capitol is being publicly broadcast across the nation. If you believe that stuff, you are dumber than a box of rocks. The January 6th committee stuff is just mindless trash. It's non-adversarial. There's no cross-examination. It's a waste of everyone's time. And this lady, Cassidy Hutchinson or whatever, she has been called out so many times for lying. I just can't believe anyone would believe any of this stuff. However, my friends, still, I think you should heed these numbers because let me show you some statistics. From Statista, American Civil War, Statistics and Facts. The American Civil War was the deadliest military conflict in the history of the U.S., claiming almost as many American lives as all other wars combined. Almost 10% of the entire population enlisted in a 4-year-long conflict that would shape the future of American history. 10%. 10% of the population were involved in the Civil War. That's crazy, yo. 2.5% of the population died in the war. Many young men. 10% was all it took. And there was a civil war. That's it. It wasn't half the country fighting half the country. Pay attention. Because when I talk about civil war, people are like, no, it'll never happen. Most people don't want it. Most people didn't want the first one. Only 10%. Right now, you have more than that who have advocated for secession of their regions. There was one poll that found 37.2% of Americans believe their region, their respective region, should break off from the U.S. to form their own union. You had like the Midwest, the South, the Northeast. They're like, we should break off and form our own country, split into 5 countries, basically. 37.2 wanted that. Okay. 10% fought in the first Civil War. I wonder how many, because that's willingness to fight, to enlist. That's not the same thing as wanting to secede, because a lot of people will say they want to, but will they really? Here's the crazy thing you need to understand. The Civil War didn't really ever end. This is just not true. Take a look at this. 100,000 plus the number of Civil War Union corpses found in the South through a federal reinternment program from 1866 to 1869. The Civil War formally ended on April 9th, 1865, the formal surrender. Nearly just shy of 4 years of war. Yet, for some reason, you had people dying, Union soldiers, their corpses being found. 1866 to 1869. That means in the South, they were still killing Union soldiers. They didn't stop fighting. The war never ended. Reconstruction happened. And look, obviously the war literally ended, but what I mean is the resistance remained in the South during Reconstruction. And it wasn't until 1876 that there was an official end to Reconstruction, when the North and the South convened a committee and said, let's just appoint the president because we don't know what's going on. And that was the agreement between the North and the South to end the Civil War. Did it ever really end? The South still waged their political battles, and it just morphed over time. You know what's fascinating? Today, the strong moral issue is abortion. Are unborn babies persons, and should they be granted personhood rights? The Democrats are on the side of saying no. I was going to make a joke. I was like, the Democrats are denying personhood to the unborn today. You know who also denied personhood? And then I typed out the Confederacy, and then I was like, wait a minute. The Confederacy was still the Democrats. So I was like, actually, the Democrats. I wonder if we will view these things in the same way. Slavery was autonomous human beings that were captured and forced to do work against their will, had no rights, no freedoms. Unborn babies are different. Unborn babies are attached to another body. So there is still a difference in how we break these things down. But I wonder, throughout history, those who have tried to deny personhood have lost. Will we see the same thing? In these Democrat-controlled states, they are claiming a right to kill unborn babies. My question here is, there are 2 women who conceive at the exact same time. Those babies in the womb grow and develop. Then, at 8.5 months, one woman has a C-section, not labor. They open up the woman and take the baby out. Why does that baby have rights and the other baby does not? The one that's still in the womb. They are of the exact same age. One is surrounded by body. One is not. Both are capable of surviving on their own. I don't know. I've never gotten a good argument from the left on that one. So I don't believe abortion after viability should be allowed. I believe that after viability, just take the baby out. You don't got to kill it. Terminate the pregnancy. Preserve the life of the baby. And there are some circumstances where I still, fairly pro-choice, like instances of rape become particularly difficult because a woman didn't choose this. It was forced upon her, and the state can't mandate that her body be harboring someone she never agreed. It's tough because then if the baby dies, what do you do? But if the baby can survive on its own, there's no reason to kill it. So at any point at which the baby can survive, you can take it out and help it live. Why kill it? I don't know, man. But maybe this is the strong moral issue that we're looking at. Only 10% of people actually enlisted. 7 million people died. That's crazy. Number of Americans lost if 2.5% of the population... Oh, I'm sorry. 7 million if the war were to happen today. It was 750,000 total number of deaths from the Civil War. 500 people died per day. 2 million Northerners mobilized. 880,000 Southerners mobilized. That's crazy. The North, man, They were just not okay with slavery. I mean, that was really it. So they had this strong moral fight on their hands. How many people on the left would fight to a bloody death to protect abortion? How many Democrats would do that? I don't think very many. If a war were to break out, I'd imagine you'd have many more people on the right willing to lay down their lines for the personhood rights of the unborn than you'd have among the left those willing to defend the right to terminate the lives of the unborn. I think we're headed in a dangerous direction, my friends, because right now 37.2, at least in one poll, said break apart. That would be something very different than the Civil War as we saw it. 5 different regions, and that makes more sense. The country was smaller back then, the North and the South. And now we're much larger. We've got Hawaii, you've got Alaska, you've got our territories. It's hard to know if it could play out the same way. But I view it as more likely to occur as it did in these other, in a true Civil War sense, that various factions rip the country apart. Not just one versus one, right? North versus South. No, in most civil wars, it's actually a bunch of different factions that are fighting each other. Like in Syria, for instance. The liberal world order is failing. They're coming out and saying it. We'll see what happens. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.